With Sri Lankan port acquisition, China adds another pearl to its string. When Sri Lanka's government first looked to develop a port on its southern coast that faced the Indian Ocean, it went not to China, but to its neighbour, India. Then Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said he urgently needed funding to transform the harbour of his hometown and asked Indian officials for help with the project. New Delhi showed little interest in funding a costly and massive port construction project in the underdeveloped fishing village of Hambantota, a district that had been crushed by the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004. It was offered to India first. I was desperate for development work, but ultimately the Chinese agreed to build it, Rajapaksa said in an interview with Singapore's Straits Times in 2010. But India's economic foresight might have cost it in terms of strategic geopolitics, since the debt incurred on the port and the surrounding infrastructure undertakings now belong to its great rival. China's official licensing of the port in December last year gives it yet another point of access over a key shipping route, and the prospect of providing it with a sizable presence in India's immediate backyard and traditional sphere of influence, bringing China closer to India's shores than New Delhi might like. Moreover, Sri Lanka's decision to sign a 99-year lease with a Chinese state-owned company for the Hambantota port to service some of the billions it owes to Beijing has some observers concerned other developing nations doing business with China as part of China's One Belt One Road initiative might fall into similar financial straits. A trap, they warn, that may well have them owing more than just money to Beijing. China is, in many cases, the only party with the interest and the capital to deliver on these projects, said Jeff Smith, a research fellow on South Asia at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C. The relevant question for everyone is, at what cost? A determined strategy by China. China has for decades invested in Sri Lanka, particularly during moments in recent history when much of the international community held off. As the European Union sought to punish Sri Lanka over human rights abuses during the decades-long civil war between government forces and the Tamil Tigers, China acted on its behalf diplomatically at the United Nations. It also supplied the Rajapaksa government with military aid, and it promised to spend to rebuild the country's damaged infrastructure. India had also sent in military help, but nowhere near the levels Beijing dispatched. The civil war ended in 2009. Between 2005 and 2017, China spent nearly $15 billion in Sri Lanka. By comparison, the International Finance Corporation, which is part of the World Bank Group, says that between 1956 and 2016, it invested over $1 billion.